Hello, and welcome to the Prodigal Son series. There's an experience I had in my childhood, and I do long and miss those times, especially for this current generation. As children, while growing up in an African rural village, we used to gather up every evening, each from the neighborhood, and under the beauty of the moonlight, we would sing, we would dance, and play all sorts of childhood games. Those were exciting times. This digital generation seemed to have missed something that is, and I consider vital for growth and development. What we had has now been replaced by this cyber world. That evening playtime, uh, song and dance time was our precious Disneyland. Well, one of the fascinating and popular games we used to find ourselves playing were on emulating the family structure. Some kids played the role of fathers, others the role of mothers, and others played as kids, and so forth. We built houses, we cooked foods, went to work, and all the roles we thought a family would play. We literally copied everything that we witnessed from the society. Usually, while playing these games, we never entertained intruders to mess with our games. Any adult who came and messed up, we hated him for interfering with our games. As children, we carried that hatred, that bitterness towards the culprit, even after the games were over. If you don't want children to hate you, don't mess up with their games. It takes wisdom for an adult to appropriately handle kids' plays. Any adult who came and spoiled our games were looked at as foolish and held up in contempt by the children and the entire society. Never ever mess up with kids' games. It is very important to give the children their freedom to express themselves without interfering as adults. You can watch them at a distance, but many times children need their freedom to entertain themselves. It is good for their growth and development. While watching them play, not that their language is always childish. My house, my home, my spouse, my children, my money, my work. It's always my. So sometimes children get greedy and fight and mess around, but it is always a child's play. Never, we never carried forward grudges to the subsequent day. And children's diction involved give me, give me, give me. And usually, much of the games we used to play always ended in one or the other pinching the other, or in a friendly fight, or some childish disagreement. Thereafter, we'd break up and get back to our respective homes. Game over. When we got back to our homes, our parents wouldn't question our soiled and torn clothes or the faded tears on our cheeks. They wouldn't ask for an explanation. Even when we made it clear we were open to getting any sort of concern from them. They never, our parents never pushed for more because they knew it was child's play, and making a big deal of it would be futile, as the next day we'd be back doing it all over again. Following up issues caused that the games made a parent look dumb and naive. And that is why I wish to make a point through this prodigal son's narrative. Well, reading from Luke chapter 15 and verse 11 to 24, the prodigal son's story. Let's read. And he said, a certain man had two sons. And the young of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the young son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country. And he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husks that the swine did eat. And no man gave unto him. And when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of the hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, and had compassion, and ran, and fell on his neck, and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe, and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet, and bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry. When I was young, I used to like sugar so much. Well, most kids do. So I prayed and said that when I grow up to be an adult, get my own job and earn my own money, I would buy a whole kilogram of sugar and have it all to myself. Well, those were childish dreams. And now, many years over, with sugar in my house, I sometimes take my tea without any of this sweetener. Great fathers like that of the prodigal sons are wise enough to know and not to interfere with children's games. When his boy was asking for his portion, actually, the father knew it was only a child's play. He never gave the son everything. Besides, you get all when the father dies, not while he is alive. That is why the father never followed him. He knew the boy was busy dancing in childish games. He knew his boy was enjoying himself in his make-up Disneyland. That's why the father never called on him, for he knew his son was busy playing with other kids. His father understood the risks and consequences, but it was imperative that his boy learns, grows, as he plays with other kids. You see, the father never sent private investigators to search for him. He knew for sure that his child was very busy in a far country playing with other kids, playing childish games. Probably the father had been through the same, so he allowed the child to learn and grow in wisdom from the experience of childish games. One of my daughters never crawled as a toddler, as is common in that stage of growth. I shared with a friend of mine about it, and he told me that since that is a stage in life's growth and development, my daughter will eventually crawl, even in her old age. I don't know how true that is. Not sure. But I can add and say that since many adults were denied playtime as they grew up, that's the reason they are now busy crawling around as married men and women. Ever wondered why your spouse is in such a crisis? Perhaps your spouse or friend wasn't allowed to go through that far country stage where kids play under the moonlight. Maybe the parents were too rigid and tough and conservative with their kids. I mean, those parents who deny, stop, and interfere with children's games are denying them quite a fundamental time of psychological development. It is a critical and significant stage for when they don't play now. When the kids don't play now, they probably will play in their old age or when they are married. Have you not seen someone with gray hair seated with kids playing hide and seek or talking like a kid? Is it not because they were denied playtime? Do not subject your children by denying them that crucial stage in their growth and development, you might end up losing them in one way or the other. Do you remember the elder brother who was always at home in the prodigal son's story? Do you think he was at a better position to deal with life's issues compared to his younger brother? Who is at a better position to give counsel, the prodigal son or the elder brother? I agree that many times kids mess up. It is very painful, but you'd better know as a parent that kids can mess up during their playtime. We used to, but it was very important. Kids can mess up and come home really messed up. They can come home completely dirty, messed up by drugs and alcohol. They can come home messed up with more kids of their own, or desperately messed up by swine. Come home smelling like swine. Talking like swine, dressed like swine. Kids games. And as a loving, caring father doesn't confront and rebuke his children with, I told you, I warned you, I don't want to see your face, I don't want to hear a thing, go away. No. A genuine father, spiritual or otherwise, knows better than to interfere with children's play, or the sons would hate him for good. Listen to me. When they come home from their moonlight games completely messed up, completely filthy, dirty, soiled in rags, run to them, hug and kiss them, clothe them with a nice warm cloth, put a ring on their finger and sandals on their feet, give them food to eat. Believe me, some will keep doing it all over again and again until they eventually mature and realize that the dream of having a sweetener all by yourself was only but a childish nightmare. Yet, these childish games is but a period of preparation for them to face this very, very merciless world. May the Lord do you good.